Hey everyone, get ready to jump into a time machine because we're about to take a wild ride back to one of the most unforgettable decades in history. That's right, we're traveling all the way back to the 1980s, a time when the world was changing fast and every day felt like a new adventure. The 80s were bursting with energy, style, and a sense of possibility. It was a time of big hair, bright colors, and even bigger dreams. People weren't afraid to be bold, and self-expression was the name of the game. Imagine a world exploding with neon lights, leg warmers, and music that made you want to dance all night long. The cities glowed with electric colors, and every street corner seemed to pulse with excitement. The 1980s were totally rad. Roller skating rinks were packed with kids showing off their moves under spinning disco balls, and high fives were the universal language of friendship. It was also the era of Rubik's Cubes, Saturday morning cartoons, and the thrill of discovering new gadgets that seemed straight out of science fiction. From wild fashion statements, think shoulder pads, acid-wash jeans, and oversized jackets, to catchy tunes blasting from boomboxes, the 80s was a decade that screamed, "Look at me!" and meant it. Home entertainment was revolutionized too. Families gathered around their TVs to watch the latest sitcoms, and video games became a new obsession, with kids spending hours trying to beat the next level. Shopping malls were the place to be, filled with bright store signs, food courts, and the latest fashions. Concerts were electric, with crowds waving glow sticks and singing along to their favorite bands. People weren't afraid to express themselves, whether it was through punk rock style, wild hairdos, or unique outfits that turned heads wherever they went. Individuality was celebrated and standing out from the crowd was a badge of honor. Breakdancers spun on city sidewalks and high schoolers strutted their stuff in funky clothes. Technology was booming too. The Walkman let you take your music anywhere, and arcades were packed with kids chasing high scores on classic games. BMX bikes ruled the streets, and trading stickers or cards with friends was a favorite pastime. Every day brought something new and exciting. So, buckle up, grab your cassette tapes, and get ready to explore the totally awesome world of the 1980s. A decade where neon lights and big dreams lit up the world like never before. Hold on to your hats, folks, because 80s fashion was a wild ride. It was a decade where style was all about standing out, not blending in. The streets were alive with a riot of color, energy, and creativity. If you walked down a city block in the 1980s, you'd see a parade of wild outfits, each one more daring than the last. Fashion wasn't just about clothes. It was about attitude, confidence, and making sure you turned heads wherever you went. It was all about making a statement. Whether you were at school, at the mall, or just hanging out with friends, your outfit was your way of telling the world who you were. The bolder, the better. Designers and everyday people alike pushed the limits, mixing and matching pieces that no one would have dared to combine before. Think big hair, bright colors, and clothes that would make your jaw drop. The 80s were a time when fashion rules were meant to be broken. People experimented with wild color combinations, oversized accessories, and patterns that popped. It was a celebration of individuality and fun. Hairspray was like gold. Everyone used it to create gravity-defying styles. You could practically smell the cloud of hairspray in every bathroom and dressing room. It was the secret weapon behind those iconic sky-high hairdos that defined the decade. Girls teased their hair to reach new heights. Think big curls, crimped waves, and ponytails that could touch the sky. The bigger the hair, the better. It was all about volume, texture, and making sure your hair was as unforgettable as your outfit. Even guys got in on the action, rocking mullets and spiked styles that were just as bold. And the clothes? Whoa baby! Neon colors were everywhere, from bright pink leggings to electric blue jackets. If it glowed under a black light, it was a must-have. People layered their neon pieces, creating looks that were impossible to ignore. It was like living in a world where the brighter you dressed, the more fun you had. Accessories were just as important as the clothes themselves. Windbreakers, graphic tees, and fanny packs were everywhere. Sunglasses came in wild shapes and colors, adding that extra pop to every look. Shoulder pads were super cool. They made everyone's shoulders look huge. Whether you were a businesswoman in a power suit or a pop star on stage, those bold, boxy shoulders meant you were ready to take on the world. It was all about power, presence, and a little bit of drama. Leg warmers, fingerless gloves, and chunky jewelry were all the rage. Inspired by dance movies and pop icons, these accessories added flair to every outfit. Layered necklaces, giant earrings, and stacks of bangles jingled with every move, making sure you never went unnoticed. People loved to mix and match patterns and textures. The bolder, the better. Plaid with polka dots? No problem. Animal print with stripes? Absolutely. The only rule was to have fun and express yourself, no matter how wild the combination. Pop stars and celebrities set the trends, and everyone wanted to copy their outrageous looks. Music videos became fashion runways, inspiring millions to try new styles and push the boundaries of what was possible. The 80s were all about expressing yourself and having fun with fashion. It was a time when you could be whoever you wanted to be, and your clothes were your superpower. So tease up that hair, throw on some neon, and get ready to dance, because in the 1980s, fashion was a party and everyone was invited. Get ready to rock out! The 1980s was a golden age for music. MTV, a brand new music television channel, changed everything. For the first time ever, we could watch our favorite bands and singers perform right in our living rooms. It was like magic. Suddenly, music wasn't just about listening, it was about watching too. MTV brought us iconic artists like Michael Jackson, Madonna, Prince, and Whitney Houston. These music legends didn't just make incredible songs, they created unforgettable music videos that were like mini-movies. Their music and their style were intertwined. They inspired us to dance, to sing, and to express ourselves without holding back. Hold on to your leg warmers, because 80s food was a wild mix of awesome and strange. It was the decade of TV dinners, sugary cereals, and snacks that would make a health nut faint. Remember those frozen dinners with the little compartments? They were like a TV dinner party in a box. And the cereal aisle was a rainbow of sugary goodness. We're talking colorful marshmallows, chocolate chips, and enough sugar to fuel a rocket ship. But it wasn't all about convenience food. We also had some pretty cool treats like Pop Rocks, those candies that exploded in your mouth, and Fruit Roll-Ups, those sticky sweet snacks we loved to peel. Hold on to your sweet tooth, because wow, 80s treats were out of this world. It was a decade of sugary goodness, from candy-colored cereals to ice pops that turned your tongue blue. Remember those gummy candies shaped like pizza slices and hamburgers? Or those push-up popsicles with the 2 flavors? And let's not forget about the rise of the slushie, that icy cold drink that came in every color imaginable. Every trip to the corner store was an adventure in sugar rush territory. We'd trade our favorite candies, argue over who had the best bubble gum, and spend hours deciding which sugary cereal to devour for breakfast. Grab your cassette player and let's hang, dude. Back in the 1980s, nothing said cool like strapping on your Walkman, popping in your favorite mixtape, and heading out to meet your friends. The music was loud, the fashion was bold, and every day felt like an adventure waiting to happen. Whether you were blasting Madonna, Michael Jackson, or rocking out to some classic rock, your tunes set the vibe for the day. The 1980s were all about spending time with friends, and malls were the ultimate hangout spot. These weren't just places to shop, they were the social hubs of the decade, where friendships were made, secrets were shared, and memories were created. You could spot groups of teens everywhere, laughing, chatting, and planning their next big adventure. Malls were like giant playgrounds with endless possibilities. There were stores packed with the latest fashions, food courts serving up pizza slices and giant pretzels, and of course arcades filled with the flashing lights and sounds of video games. The excitement was contagious. Every corner had something new to explore. We'd spend hours trying on wild new outfits, think neon colors, leg warmers, and acid-wash jeans, hoping to find that perfect look. Then, it was off to the record store, flipping through rows of vinyl and cassette tapes, searching for the latest album from your favorite band, or maybe discovering a new artist to obsess over. And who could resist the lure of the arcade claw machine? We'd pool our quarters, cheering each other on, determined to snag a giant stuffed animal, even if it took a dozen tries. Winning one felt like a major victory, and you'd carry it around the mall like a trophy. And let's not forget about the movie theater. Going to the movies was a big deal. Lining up for tickets, grabbing a bucket of buttery popcorn, and finding the perfect seat with your friends. The anticipation before the lights dimmed was electric. The 80s gave us some of the most iconic movies ever, like The Breakfast Club, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, and so many more. These films weren't just entertainment, they were cultural moments that everyone talked about at school the next day. You'd quote your favorite lines, debate which character was the coolest, and maybe even see the same movie more than once. And then, there was Back to the Future, a movie that made everyone dream about time travel and hoverboards. The theater would be packed, the energy was high, and you'd leave feeling like anything was possible. After catching a flick, the fun didn't stop. We'd head straight to the arcade, pockets jingling with quarters, ready to take on the high scores in Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. The competition was fierce, but it was all about having a blast with your friends. And Galaga, that game was legendary. We'd play until our fingers were sore, determined to beat our personal bests and maybe even get our initials on the leaderboard. The sounds of the arcade, beeps, boops, and laughter were the soundtrack of our youth. Life was good and we were totally living our best lives. The mall was more than just a place to shop. It was where friendships grew, adventures happened, and every day felt like a scene from your favorite movie. The memories we made there, they're still totally rad. Get ready for a blast from the past. 80s toys were the coolest. We're talking about Cabbage Patch Kids, those squishy-faced dolls that everyone wanted, and Transformers. Robots in disguise that could transform from cars to robots and back again. Then there were the video games, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Super Mario Bros. These games were legendary. We spent hours in arcades and glued to our home consoles, battling aliens, rescuing princesses, and gobbling up dots. And who could forget about the Rubik's Cube? This colorful puzzle drove us crazy trying to solve it, but it was oh so satisfying when we finally did. The 80s were a time for imagination, creativity, and having a blast with toys that brought us endless hours of fun. The 1980s might be over, but their spirit lives on. Why do people still love the 80s so much? Because it was a time of pure fun and freedom. We still listen to the music, rock the clothes, retro is cool, you know, and watch the movies. The 80s remind us to be ourselves, to embrace our individuality, and to never stop dancing. The 80s were a time when anything felt possible. We dreamed big, danced like nobody was watching, and weren't afraid to stand out from the crowd. It was a time of innovation, creativity, and a whole lot of neon. So there you have it. The 1980s were a whirlwind of big hair, bold fashion, catchy tunes, and unforgettable memories. It was a time when we embraced our individuality and weren't afraid to let our freak flags fly. The next time you hear an 80s song, see a picture of a Rubik's Cube, or spot someone rocking a pair of neon leg warmers, remember the magic of this awesome decade. The 80s may be gone, but they'll never be forgotten.